Imagine knowing with like absolute 100% certainty that the boat you are about to board is destined to sink straight to the bottom of the sea.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I would panic.
Right. But you're told you have to get on it anyway. How would you react? Like, would you assume whoever is giving you directions has just completely lost their mind?
Totally. You'd think the plan was ruined.
Exactly. And today, we are going to look at what happens when our perfectly crafted life plans collide with a completely different itinerary. So, welcome to Zion Recap. This is a deep dive designed specifically for you.
Yeah, it's a great one today.
It really is. Today, we are pulling from the source material of a super fascinating message delivered at Zion CC on Sunday, August 16th, 2026.
By Pastor Roy, right?
Yep, Pastor Roy. And he was wrapping up this massive, multi-layered journey through the final stretch of the book of Acts.
And it is honestly just an incredibly fitting place to wrap up because, the underlying theme of these final chapters is about a relentless pursuit. It is about this absolute uncompromising mission to reach the lost.
Even when things go terribly wrong.
Right. Even when human error and literally natural disasters threaten to derail the entire process.
Okay, let's unpack this because the foundational premise here is something that totally flies in the face of how most of us think about our mistakes.
Oh, absolutely.
We tend to assume that when we mess up, we just, ruin the master plan. We think we've thrown a wrench into the divine machinery, and now God is up in heaven, frantically erasing the whiteboard and drawing up a plan B.
Yeah, like he's scrambling to fix our mess.
Right. But the point made here by Pastor Roy is that God never, ever has a plan B. He is still batting 1,000.
It is a profound psychological shift, honestly, because we constantly project our own human limitations onto the divine.
Yeah.
When your car breaks down or a major career move falls through, your immediate instinct is that the roadmap has been destroyed.
Oh, for sure. You feel totally lost.
But the narrative in Acts shows us that while the vehicle might change, the destination does not. And in this specific case, the destination for the Apostle Paul was Rome.
Because Rome was the center of everything.
Exactly. Rome was the epicenter of the known world. If you wanted to broadcast a message to the entire globe in the first century, you started in Rome. The mission practically required Paul to be in that city.
But hold on, this is where I have to push back a little bit on this.
Sure.
Because if God is batting 1,000, right, and he absolutely needs Paul in Rome, why is the journey there such a catastrophic mess?
It really is a mess.
I mean, we get this story of a massive shipwreck, and God actually warns Paul that the voyage is doomed. Paul tells the ship's crew, like, hey, terrible time to sail, let's just stay put.
And they totally ignore him.
Right. They ignore him, sail right into a hurricane, and the ship is torn to pieces. So did God just let an entire ship get destroyed to prove a point to Paul?
See, that is a great question, and I think it highlights the friction between divine guidance and human free will.
Mm-hmm.
God didn't cause the storm to punish them. He provided the warning to protect them.
Oh.
Yeah, the human will, the ego of the sailors who thought they knew the sea better than anyone else, that is what sailed the ship into the storm. The divine will was to get Paul to Rome.
So the warning was the grace.
Exactly. What we see here isn't God destroying a ship to prove a point. It is God keeping his overarching promise despite human foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
He promised Paul he would survive, and he did. God's ultimate mission survives our bad decisions.
That dynamic is so interesting to think about. I was trying to contextualize it for anyone listening right now who feels like they've, sailed their own life right into a hurricane.
We've all been there.
It really is like a GPS system. When you are driving and your GPS suddenly chimes in and says, hazard ahead, take the next exit, you don't take it personally.
Right. You don't argue with it.
You don't think the GPS is like judging your driving skills. It's just trying to navigate you safely to your destination.
Exactly. But humans have a terrible habit of confusing protection with restriction when it comes to spiritual guidance.
Right. We view spiritual direction as these restrictive rules. We feel like we are being hit over the head with judgment. We feel convicted. So we just ignore the warning. We ignore the good advice of the people around us.
And then the natural consequence is that we sail right into the rocks.
Yep. Boom. Shipwreck.
And yet, the grace of the situation is that even after the wreck, the mission continues. Paul and the crew wash up on the shore of this island called Malta. And what does Paul do?
He doesn't take a break, that's for sure.
No. He doesn't sit on the beach and demand a vacation because he just survived a traumatic event.
Yeah.
He immediately starts gathering wood for a fire to keep people warm.
Just getting right back to work.
Right. The application there is clear. I mean, surviving a shipwreck in your life doesn't mean you get to clock out of your purpose.
But then it gets almost comical. Because Paul is gathering sticks, doing a good deed, and out of nowhere, this venomous snake bites him and latches onto his hand.
I mean, talk about a bad day.
Seriously. He just survived a hurricane and a shipwreck, and now he's poisoned. And you noted something in the source material about the locals' reaction that really caught my attention.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the immediate psychological response of the people living on the island. I mean, they watched this guy crawl out of a shipwreck only to be bitten by a deadly viper.
They're probably thinking he's cursed.
Exactly. Their brains immediately seek a pattern to explain the suffering. Their conclusion is like, this guy must be a murderer, the universe is balancing the scales. They assume it's karma.
Wait, karma? Did first-century people in the Mediterranean actually believe in the Eastern concept of karma? That seems like an anachronism.
Ah, good catch.
Yeah?
No, technically, the locals believed in a Greek goddess of justice named Dike.
Oh, Dyke, okay.
Yeah. They believed she was a divine enforcer who ensured murderers got what was coming to them. But the psychological mechanism is identical to what modern people call karma.
Oh, I see.
It is the just world fallacy. Yeah. You know, that desperate human need to believe that all suffering is a direct proportional punishment for something you did wrong.
Like, the universe always gets its revenge. Something bad happens to you, you must have attracted that negative energy.
Precisely. But Pastor Roy's message here draws a hard line against that worldview.
Yeah, it really does.
The idea that every piece of suffering in your life is a direct punishment from God is fundamentally flawed. Sometimes a snakebite is just a snakebite.
Yeah.
Living in a broken world means encountering broken things. Paul's suffering wasn't his fault, but he simply shakes the snake off into the fire and suffers no ill effects. Why? Because the mission is Rome, and a snake doesn't get to override the divine destination.
Man, God will literally move heaven, earth, and wildlife to ensure this mission to reach the lost succeeds.
You really will.
And that theme of relentless pursuit is what bridges us perfectly to the next idea. Because it is easy to look at Paul and think, sure, God protected him, he's a global influencer, he's writing half the New Testament.
Right, he's a big deal.
But the source material pivots from this massive global scale to a completely localized, intimate encounter in the book of Luke, the story of Zacchaeus.
It is such a vital transition. It proves that the relentless pursuit we see in Paul's life isn't just for global movements. It is for the individual sitting alone in their house.
So help me understand the context of Zacchaeus, because I know the Sunday school version, right? He's a short guy who climbs a tree to see Jesus. But why was this such a big deal? Was he just a quirky, eccentric guy?
Oh, far from it. Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector. And in the Roman-occupied territories of the first century, a local Jewish man collecting taxes for the Roman Empire wasn't just seen as like an IRS agent. He was viewed as a traitor.
Oh, wow. So they actively hated him.
Despised him.
Yeah.
Furthermore, they made their living by extortion, skimming off the top. So Zacchaeus was incredibly wealthy, but he was a complete social pariah. He was isolated, despised, and entirely marginalized by his own community.
Which paints such a devastating psychological picture. You have all the money in the world, the biggest house, the finest clothes, but absolutely no one wants to eat dinner with you.
Exactly.
So Jesus is passing through Jericho, massive crowds are swarming, and Zacchaeus, because he is short and likely being actively blocked by people who hate him, cannot see.
They were probably elbowing him out of the way.
Right. So this wealthy, powerful man abandons all dignity, runs ahead, and climbs up a sycamore tree like a child.
It is an image of profound spiritual desperation. He has exhausted the material world. He has the money and the status, but he still feels an undeniable void. Humans are inherently wired for the spiritual. When the material world fails to satisfy, we start looking for a better vantage point.
I love that phrase, a better vantage point, because we still do this today.
We absolutely do.
Pastor Roy pointed out that we all have our own version of that sycamore tree. We feel that spiritual emptiness, so we look for something to climb to try and get a better view of life, hoping it will finally make sense.
Right.
We climb the corporate ladder, thinking the view from the executive suite will fix our anxiety. We climb into status chasing, or we try to accumulate wealth.
Or we climb into the hollow vantage points of social media validation or toxic relationships, thinking they will, elevate us above our feelings of isolation.
Right. But the tragedy of the sycamore tree is that it is just a tree. You climb the ladder, you get the promotion, you buy the car, and you're just sitting up in the branches, still feeling completely empty.
Still isolated.
You can't actually reach the spiritual fulfillment you are looking for. But the twist in the Zacchaeus story is breathtaking. He is up in this tree trying to reach the spiritual realm, and instead, the spiritual realm walks right up to the base of the tree and calls his name.
Yeah, Jesus initiates the encounter. He stops, looks up, and says, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today."
He doesn't even hesitate.
He doesn't. And notice, he doesn't shout a list of demands. He doesn't say, "Go refund all the people you extorted, publicly apologize, clean up your messy life, and then maybe we can talk."
It's that classic theological concept from Romans 5:8 in action. The idea that while we were still totally a mess, grace stepped in. Jesus went directly to the outcast while he was still an outcast.
And that leads to a very uncomfortable realization for modern listener.
Oh, definitely.
It is very easy to read that story or sit in a comfortable auditorium and think, wow, I am so glad Jesus came to save a mess of a guy like Zacchaeus.
Right, like we're the good guys.
Exactly. We subtly position ourselves as the established crowd and Zacchaeus as the other. But the stark reality is that every single one of us was Zacchaeus. We were all in the tree.
If you are listening to this right now, you were the outcast that had to be pursued. And if that is true, if the core mission of the Christian faith is to seek and save the lost in the exact same way Jesus did, sending us like the Father sent him, what does that practically look like for us?
That's the big question.
Because I think a lot of people panic when they hear the word evangelism. They think it requires a megaphone.
They absolutely do. We often conflate bold faith with public disruption. We assume seeking the lost means moving across the globe or standing on a street corner yelling at pedestrians.
There is an analogy in the source material about an airplane that I found simultaneously hilarious and horrifying.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Pastor Roy painted the picture of someone who thinks being a bold Christian means standing up in the middle of a crowded commercial flight, pulling out an acoustic guitar, and belting out worship songs.
Which is a universally shared nightmare for anyone just trying to get through a flight.
I would be furious. I would instantly put on my noise-canceling headphones, turn up a deep dive, and actively ignore them.
Without a doubt.
It feels performative, it's annoying, and quite frankly, making a captive audience listen to you doesn't actually change human hearts.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the mechanics of actual influence are much quieter, but far more deeply rooted. God doesn't necessarily need you to be a disruptive street preacher. What he often requires is for you to be a faithful presence in your specific sphere of influence.
Just right where you are.
Yes, he needs a person of integrity in your particular office building.
So it's about the everyday execution of your character. Like if you are a manager or a barista or a mechanic and you operate with absolute honesty, you don't cut corners, you treat your coworkers with dignity, you don't participate in office gossip, that consistency shifts the culture of a room far more effectively than shouting at people.
Exactly. Your integrity earns you the right to be heard.
Yeah.
There is a biblical concept in 1 Corinthians 3:6 about how growth actually happens. One person plants a seed, another person waters it, but God gives the growth.
Oh, I love that verse.
The point is that everyone has a highly specific, vital role in the play. You might not be the charismatic speaker. You might just be the tree in the corner. You might just be the coworker who offers a genuine word of encouragement to someone who is secretly struggling.
Yeah.
And that single interaction might be the exact drop of water needed to grow a seed that someone's grandmother has been praying over for 20 years.
Wow, yeah. You might feel like you're just playing a minor background character in the grand scheme of things, but you are still on the stage. You still have a part to play. But this raises a major question about how we define spiritual growth.
Okay, how so?
Well, if playing our part means actually taking action and showing integrity, then we need to completely redefine what maturity looks like.
We really do, because the modern tendency is to equate maturity with knowledge. We assume a mature believer is someone who has read 50 theology textbooks, or someone who can brag, I have attended Zion CC every Sunday for 18 years.
Wait, but isn't reading theology and studying good? Like, why doesn't knowledge equal maturity?
Oh, it is absolutely good, but knowledge without application actually breeds arrogance, not maturity. The psychological mechanism of true maturity requires the surrender of the ego. That is why Pastor Roy defined biblical maturity with a single word: obedience.
Obedience. That is so simple to say and agonizingly difficult to actually do.
Because it requires you to subordinate your will. If you know the entire text back to front, but you refuse the command to be humble, to be faithful to your commitments, or to actually seek the lost people currently in your life, You are stepping outside the purpose of that knowledge. You are gathering information without allowing it to transform you.
And what I found so compelling about this specific recap is that the speaker, Pastor Roy, didn't just leave obedience hanging in the air as like an abstract theoretical concept.
No, he did not.
He basically stopped the momentum of a normal wrap-up and forced the room into immediate action.
Yeah, he issued a physical challenge right then and there. He instructed everyone in the room to take out their smartphones.
Which is such a pattern interrupt. Usually the first rule of any gathering is put your screens away. He actually had to reassure the crowd that he wasn't going to make them smash their phones.
Right.
But he had everyone open up their notes app, and the challenge is highly specific. Write down the names of 5 people in your life who are currently lost and desperately need to encounter Jesus.
That specificity is crucial. It forces you to contextualize the mission. It moves the lost from a vague demographic category out in the world and turns them into real people. A brother, a neighbor, a specific coworker at the desk next to yours.
He told them, don't look at me up on the stage, look at your phones, write the names. And then he provided a 3-part framework for how to actually pray for these 5 people every single day.
And the mechanics of this prayer are fascinating.
Yeah, so the first thing you pray for is a burden.
Which is a heavy concept to ask for.
It is. Why would I actively pray to feel burdened? Like, life is heavy enough.
Because in this context, a burden means asking your own heart to break for the things that break God's heart. It is the psychological shift from seeing your annoying coworker as a nuisance to seeing them the exact same way Jesus saw Zacchaeus up in that tree.
You're asking for compassion.
You are praying for profound empathy. You have to genuinely care about their internal state before you can ever hope to have a meaningful conversation with them.
That makes so much sense. Empathy has to precede action. Once you actually have that burden, once you care, the second step of the prayer is to ask for an opportunity.
Right.
You are essentially asking the divine to orchestrate the seemingly random events of your Tuesday so that you naturally intersect with this person. You are looking for an open door to be a friend, to offer help, or to share the gospel or an encouraging word.
And the final piece of the framework ties us all the way back to the Apostle Paul and the shipwreck. The third thing you pray for is boldness.
Courage.
Yeah.
Because you can have all the empathy in the world and the perfect opportunity can present itself. But if you are paralyzed by the fear of what they might think of you, you'll just stay silent.
Exactly. Paul had the boldness to continue his mission even after disasters, even while facing death. The challenge here is to pray for that exact same courage to actually do it when the door opens in your break room or your neighborhood.
It is such a brilliant way to internalize all of this. You don't just consume the information, you realize you are required to participate in it.
Which brings us to a deeply provocative question for anyone listening today.
Okay.
If the defining characteristic of a mature life is a willingness to seek out the lost, we have to recognize our own history. Before you found your footing, before you knew Jesus, who was the person carrying a burden for you?
Oh, wow.
Whose list of 5 names were you on, perhaps for years, without even knowing it?
That actually stops you in your tracks. Someone, somewhere, was praying for the opportunity and the boldness to reach you, and now the baton is passed. It is our turn.
Exactly.
Well, if you are listening to this and you find yourself wrestling with these concepts, or if you feel like you are sitting in a sycamore tree right now and want to figure out how to get down, we want to invite you into the conversation.
We'd love to have you.
Please come to our small groups on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. The community at Zion CC would absolutely love to meet you, hear your story, and talk through these things in person.
Yeah, small group is where the real connection happens.
Absolutely. Also, to catch the very latest sermon and keep exploring with us, join Zion CC on Sunday at either 9 or 11 a.m. And if you want to experience the full, unabridged audio of the incredible message we just unpacked today from Pastor Roy, head over to Zion CC's YouTube page.
It's definitely worth a watch.
Just search for the video with the title, "Well, They Said It Couldn't Be Done." Finally, just a quick note of transparency to our listeners. Zion uses AI tools to help summarize information, sermons, and common questions to create recaps exactly like this one.
Right. It's keeping it real.
While we work diligently to keep everything accurate and true to the source, AI can sometimes make mistakes or hallucinate details. So always check out the original sermon. Thank you so much for joining us on Zion Recap. Remember, even when you feel like you've shipwrecked your plans, God's destination hasn't changed. We will see you next time.